When it comes down to portrait photography, the majority of people would recommend shooting off-camera flush portraits because it gives you a better, softer, nicer looking portrait. However, knowing how to use one simple speedlight, bare speedlight directly pointed onto your model can enhance your portraits as well. And when it comes down to the gear you need, you literally only need your camera of choice and a lens you own and one simple speedlight. When it comes down to your lens choice, that's entirely up to you if you want to use a prime lens or a zoom lens. I do recommend using a zoom lens for this sort of portrait photography, but I'm going to dive later into this a bit more into detail and why. I would tell you to shout, but I'm not sure if my neighbors would appreciate that. One of the easiest way how to shoot harsh light portraits is on a plain backdrop. You can use either a wall in your house, in your flat, or if you got available a paper backdrop, you can choose your color as well if you want to. So let's come down to the setup of a camera. Because we're shooting in a studio style environment, we want to choose a smaller, more narrow aperture to make sure that our model is 100% in focus and is sharp as well. So my images got shot on an f8 ISO 100 50th of a second, which basically gave me a black photograph as a starting point because I want to expose everything else with the flash itself. So when it comes down to lens selection, people prefer prime lenses over zoom lenses over prime lenses. I do recommend using actually a zoom lens for this type of shoot because it will give you more flexibility. However, let's say we choose a zoom lens as I did in this photo shoot. When connecting your flash to your camera and figuring your settings out for your flash power output, you need to keep in mind that when you figured out your distance to your model and what power output you need from a flash, that you need to stand as much as possible in this spot. So if you have a zoom lens, it will give you more flexibility to zoom in and zoom out and to change the angle of view in your portrait. The reason for this is when you figured out your power output from a flash to your model, let's say you stand 1 meter away from your model and you need to have a power of a speedlight to give you a proper exposure. This is your exposure. This is your power you chosen to expose the scene properly. As soon as you make a step forward, you will overexpose your scene or your picture. As soon as you make a step backwards, you underexpose. You change your power output from a flash by walking forward or backwards because the speedlight or the flash itself needs to travel more before it hits your subject. So that's the reason why I do recommend using a zoom lens in this sort of scenario, because it gives you more flexibility. You can zoom out, you can zoom in, you can change the angle of view for your portraits without changing your exposure. So always remember, make sure when you figured out your power output from a speedlight and you stand in one spot, to stand in the spot as much as possible, because every single time you move slightly, technically you need to adjust the power from your speedlight again. If you make 2 steps backwards, you're probably at least 2 to 3 stops underexposed. If you make 1 step forward, you're probably already 1 or 2 stops overexposed. So keep this in mind when shooting. And here's one more little thing when we're talking about the speedlight and the zoom or prime lens selection. Depends what you like to use for your shoot. Adjust the zoom function of your flash. If you use the zoom lens, leave the zoom function of your flash to auto. So every single time you zoom, the flash will zoom and will give you 100% coverage of your focal length you're shooting at. If you're using a prime, let's say 85mm, then set the flash zoom function to 85mm to make sure you have coverage for your focal length of 85mm. So with that said, I hope you liked this video, and the video was simple, straightforward to make you understand how you can shoot harsh light portraits with one simple speedlight or on-camera speedlight. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button, like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. If you got further question, let me know in the comments. And with that said, I'm gonna see you in the next one, my friend. I like this one, but